Hey, welcome guys to part 2 of Let's Build a Fish Room. In today's video I'm going to cover, as promised in the last one, my final decision on the aquarium rack placements, and but more importantly I'm going to go over my central air installation a step at a time and show you what I'm doing. And like I said in the last video, it's a little bit different than anything I've seen. It's an experiment. I hope it works. So stay tuned and I hope you enjoy. Let's talk. These first two racks here are made to fit a 255 gallon tanks, one on top of the other, and two 20 gallon tanks beside it, and then the other one is designed to hold four 40 gallon tanks, one on top of each other. They ironically fit so nicely into this space. If you saw the last video, potentially a wall there, and you know, I didn't make these stands, they were already made, but how did it work out that I have the right spacing? And then this rack here holds 475 gallon tanks, and I'll have a little bit of room on the end here. I'm not sure what I'll do. I might build a little shelving unit there, but I will utilize that space. All right, so in consideration of putting the air system in, for those that haven't done it before, you want to make sure that your air line is above your tanks. If the pump stops, there's no chance that the water will siphon back down out of the aquarium onto your floor, into the pump, wreck the pump, and all that. So we're going to keep the main air line at the top, at the ceiling. The other thing to consider is, where do we want to start the pump? Where do we want to place the pump? Now it's a bit tricky, you know, in this room, but I'll show you from the start. I believe I'm going to I'll install the air pump up here, and we'll go around the room, and I'll show you in a second here. We'll go around the room, and then we'll discuss what I'm going to do with this line. So if I mount it up there, I can run it at the ceiling all the way around. All the way back around here, and to end before that window frame, just before the window frame. So this won't be a complete loop. So some guys run their system in a way that top line would be a complete loop or circle, not sure what you want to call it, but a loop, meaning that off the pump we would come off with a T, and then the line would go each way, joining into each other. But that would mean that I have to come somewhere across the ceiling here, which I'm not really crazy to do. As you can see, this is a finished room, and I want it to remain looking like it's a finished room. So what I've decided, yes, the pump's going to start over here. Although for right now, because this half of the room is not ready, I think I'm going to start the pump somewhere over here, because these are the lines that I actually need going now for the new tanks that are coming in. Then the next thing, you know, to consider for myself anyways, because like I say, this is a finished room, I'm not crazy about having a line running at the ceiling and then just running airline tubing down from the ceiling to the tanks, because that looks like spaghetti. And because this is a finished room, I want it to remain looking like a finished room. So what I've decided to do that maybe is less conventional, something I haven't seen done, is I'm going to run the lines, start the pump up over here for now. I'll run the lines and I'll put a T in, I'll drop a line down, and then off that T, which will come down the wall, I will have T's that come off to run lines at the height slightly above the top of the aquariums. And then off those I will put my, my little valves and airline. That should keep everything looking neat. Oh yeah, and my little helpers here, Zoe and Reggie. Right, you haven't seen them in a while, so here they are. Wanting to install the airline, like I've said, I need to know the heights of each aquarium, each row of aquariums, and so I've measured them, and you can see my sheet here. They're made with all 2x3s, and the total rack height currently is 60 inches. Now, the problem with this is that the bottom row of tanks is only about 3 or 4 inches off the ground, and I don't really want to have them that low if I don't have to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a 2x6 base for each of the racks, and so my total height will be 65.5 inches. And then down from that, the middle row is 27.5 inches down from that, and the bottom row is 29 inches down from the middle row. Obviously these are important measurements because I'm going to put my airline in first. I've also got my tank heights, measured them out. They're standard tanks. So, and also I didn't list here on the top row, if I want, there will be some 10-gallon tanks, tanks that are 12 inches high, approximately. So I'll show you how that works out on the wall at the window frames. Okay, so with those things in mind, 65.5 inches, I'll explain why I came up with that dimension. I don't want racks sitting in front of the windows. I don't think that would look very good. So I'm hoping to keep the stands underneath the window frame there. And as it turns out, and this is why I decided on 2x6, is 65.5 inches. Ends up at the top of the tape here. So the racks will be underneath that window frame, and that will look good. I could have gone with maybe a 2x8. That would have been maybe a bit too close. Another 2 inches probably would have been up into the trim on the window. So that's why I've decided to put them at that height, and so we're going to base everything on that. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to mark with painter's tape where the lines are actually going to be, and you'll be able to see that, and then we'll start cutting and installing the lines. Alright, if we head into the little fish room, which is moving out into the big room, we can have a look at the pump that's going to move out there, just to get some dimensions. So I'm going to have the pump very close to the ceiling in the other room. In this room it's down 22 inches. But if we look at the dimensions here, to the top of the pump is about 8 inches. So if I stay down from the ceiling in the other room about 10 inches, and then we need a certain distance to put this flex line. So that runs about what is that? Maybe 20 inches, somewhere around 20 inches. I mean that doesn't have to be exact. It can be a little more, a little less. So let's go out in the other room and have a look at what that's gonna work out like. All right, so out here, you know, if I mounted that pump, let's say above this door frame, we don't really have enough room to put a shelf up here. There's not enough ceiling height then. So maybe what I'll do is I'll come around the corner here and I'll mount the pump somewhere along here, probably right about here. And then when I'm ready to extend that line, I can just take that little piece of pipe out and finish the line off. All right, the next step is to decide where to make the horizontal runs. And you can see on my paper here, I don't know if this will help anybody, but anyways, the top of my shelf is 66, the top of the rack. I want to give myself room to put 10-gallon tanks, so that's 12 inches. Maybe I'll put tanks here a little bit higher. So I've decided that 18 inches up from that, which is 84 inches, I will run my horizontal air line up there, and then basically, if we look at my stand, the top shelf being 66 inches, and then it's made out of 3x2s, so that's 2.5 inches plus the half inch of styrofoam I'm putting on top. So 3 inches below that would be the top of the underside of that cross brace, and so I'm going to go an inch below that, and I'll run my air line across there. So that works out to 4 inches below here, 62 inches, and then same here. This one's 38.5, so 34.5 will be the height off the floor of my horizontal air lines. So now what I've done is I've got tape marks at those heights, and I'm going to transfer that line across the wall, around the room basically. And you can do this any way you want. You don't have to be as fussy as I am, but you could do this with a board and a level, or a string and a string level, if you know what that is. I don't have one on hand. I do have one, but I can't find it. But I happen to have a laser level, which it's not really all that fancy. It was cheap from Canadian Tire. And to be honest, I've never used it. So let's put it into use, and I'll show you what I mean here. So I can, I've got this on my camera tripod, right? I've leveled it, at least level, you can't see, at least level across this way. And so then I can adjust the height right here, and I just come across the wall to that mark. You can see I'm not quite high enough there. I'll zoom in a little bit here so we can see it, and we'll try to just raise that up a little bit. You can see it going up there slowly. And right about there, we have it right on the top edge of that tape. So let's run that line across. It's just this easy. I've got a piece of tape handy right there, so I can do that. And we'll do the same down at this end. We've got another piece of tape handy there. And so let's go over and do that one. So if I just grab that piece of tape and I can set it on that red dot, and that will be a level run across there. So go back here. I think the batteries in my laser level are close to dead. That's maybe why it's flashing like that. So we'll get over, we'll do this one. This one's really not necessary, but you know, because we're going to put one piece across there. But anyways, we'll put a piece of tape on there just for fun. Okay. So that's how I go about putting my vertical lines in. The other, the top row and the bottom row, sorry about the focus there, the bottom row, I can just measure off this middle row and get them level that way. I don't have to use a laser level on the top and the bottom. All right, if we head into the little fish room, which is moving out into the big room, we can have a look at the pump that's going to move out there, just to get some dimensions. So I'm going to have the pump very close to the ceiling in the other room. In this room it's down 22 inches. But if we look at the dimensions here, to the top of the pump is about 8 inches. So if I stay down from the ceiling in the other room about 10 inches, and then we need a certain distance to put this flex line. So that runs about what is that? Maybe 20 inches, somewhere around 20 inches. I mean that doesn't have to be exact. It can be a little more, a little less. So let's go out in the other room and have a look at what that's gonna work out like. All right, so out here, you know, if I mounted that pump, let's say above this door frame, we don't really have enough room to put a shelf up here. There's not enough ceiling height then. So maybe what I'll do is I'll come around the corner here and I'll mount the pump somewhere along here. Probably right about here. And then when I'm ready to extend that line, I can just take that little piece of pipe out and finish the line off. All right, after a lot of measuring and you know, rethinking some things, this top air line was going to be up here, and you can see there's not much space between that and the ceiling, so it doesn't make any sense to run that up at the ceiling. I'm expecting once the aquariums are on the top of the rack, I'm expecting that you won't see the air line anyways. So I did raise it up just high enough to fit over top of the doorway, and so I'll start the line over there, and you'll see in the blue string that I've taped onto the wall basically what needs to happen. I'm gonna run the one leg down there, a couple of horizontal ones, horizontal across the ceiling, another leg down to feed these tanks and these, and then you know, I was going to go up into the window here across, because I don't want to go across the window, that's for sure, but I figured it'd be better if I just came from this leg and come across, and then I'll go back up and across just this short span to feed. You know, there might be 2 or 3 aquariums up there, so I think that should work fine. Here's a quick glimpse of it, maybe about halfway done. You can see I've still got more lines to run here. Alright, I'm happy to say that the air lines are in now. I'll walk you around and show you how they turned out. All right, so as planned, I started up here. I will have to run just a short little piece of pipe on there, mount the pump, but that's not needed right now. I ran my lines as planned, and you can see that I have the one leg down that's going to feed these two lower sections, and then came all the way around the top here, another leg down that's going to run those two, and up and around just to feed that little bit at the end. And this up here will feed the top here in the event that I have some aquariums up there, which is quite likely. So I think it's turned out the way it should. Cross your fingers that I've actually measured things properly and that these are at the right height. I'm gonna know soon enough. So thanks for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed the video. The next video, there's lots to come. In the next video, I'll be showing moving in the aquarium stands and the aquariums, and we'll go over things one step at a time. Hope you're having a great day. Bye now.